Call to order the regular session of the Klickitat County Board of County Commissioners. Let the record show all three commissioners are present, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve the business agenda as with two add-ons, pay estimate number 24 to Kirby Nagelhout Construction Company, and a second under new business, a resolution to schedule a public hearing on public meeting on April 19th, 2022 at 1:30 to review the 2021 Klickitat County redistricting plan for the purpose of giving adequate consideration pursuant to RCW 29A.76.010, paren 4, paren C, or E. E. I have to get my glasses.
I would second that very eloquent motion.
There is a motion and a second to approve the business agenda with the two add-ons. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Oh,
I'll leave that to him. If you haven't looked at him yet,
I
I'm fine with
haven't,
stalling.
as far as I.
It's fine. We can wait one more.
We can wait.
Okay, being that there are no commissioner meeting minutes, we are going to move into citizen comment. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. The county commissioners will likely not respond until citizen comments have been heard in 1:25, unless we run out of people who would like to provide public comment. We will begin, as always, in the room. For anyone who is interested in providing public comment, please give us your name and where you're from, and give us something to talk about. Nothing? Nothing. 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 Okay, being that there is, we are going to go online. We have 32 participants who would like to provide public comment. Raise your hand, *6, turn your video on. I see Gail, would you like to provide public comment? Please unmute yourself, Gail.
Yes, sir. Thank you. The notice for the public meeting on April 19th at 1:30 doesn't state that public comments are going to be accepted. I would respectfully request that the board accept public comments at that meeting, especially since public comments and participation have been lacking throughout the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gail. Okay, next I see Pat Arnold. Your video is on. Would you like to provide public comment?
Yes, thank you. My name is Pat Arnold and I reside at 472 Sunnyside Road in Trout Lake. I'm speaking to you today about Sheriff Songer. My ancestors came to what were then the colonies in this country seeking religious freedom. On both sides, they were Protestants being persecuted by other Christian religions. They came from places that had been racked by centuries by religious strife. Yes, they were certainly Christians, devoted Christians, but they wanted the state out of religion because they were fleeing from the damage done by states and authorities waging wars over religion. They did not want a state religion. They wanted a state that did not endorse any specific religion. Sheriff Songer's been pretty clear over the years that he thinks there is a state religion, and that's the one he believes in. The sheriff, like all of us, is of course entitled to worship as he pleases. There is no state religion in the United States. We have freedom of worship. However, last week, the sheriff received a letter from a group called Americans United. I do not know how they became aware of Klickitat County, but possibly they monitor some of the constitutional sheriff websites and have seen something posted by Sheriff Songer on one of those websites. I want to bring this letter to your attention because the sheriff's actions and policies representing Klickitat County draw you into, associate you with his actions, whether or not you want to be associated, because he's acting on behalf of the county. The letter he received is lengthy, but the central message is this, quote, inclusion of religious messages in official government communications, and formulating governmental policy based on religious views and beliefs both violate the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment of the US Constitution. You may want to read the letter. If you haven't seen it, I'll be happy to send it to you. And I am suggesting that you may want to consider disassociating yourselves from Sheriff Sanger's views that we do in fact have a state religion that is primary over the Constitution. It's a sad thing to me to see religion and people's strongly held beliefs drawn into this kind of controversy. That's not why we hold our beliefs, to be involved in this kind of thing. And I think it's sad. Anyway, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Okay. Gail, I think you still have your mic on. Oh,
Yes,
no.
and I'm sorry, I did not identify. I live at 18 Lois Lane in Trout Lake, Washington, and I will now mute myself.
All
Thanks.
right. Thank you, Gail. Okay, next. Anybody in the room change your mind yet? Nope. Okay, back online. Public comment. *6. Turn your video on. Raise your hand. Miss Bambi.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dinah Bambi and I reside at 2274 Highway 141 in Trout Lake, Washington. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comment today. I am the chair for the Trout Lake Community Council, but am providing comment today as a private citizen, primarily due to the fact that the council has not met and voted on these topics as of yet. We will do so at our special meeting tomorrow night. First, I would like to provide comment on the public hearing scheduled for April 19th. This hearing, as you well know, is for the board to consider RCW 29A.76.010.4E. My concern is that the notice does not specifically state that the public comment will be taken during the hearing. I sincerely hope that this is merely an oversight in the publication of the notice that was sent out. In any case, I respectfully request that the board accept public comment at the April 19th hearing. The second topic I wish to bring up is in regard to a statement that the prosecuting attorney made at the April 8th, 2022 Superior Court proceedings regarding the petition for review of Klickitat County redistricting plan. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend the hearing due to an illness. However, it was brought to my attention by several attendees that the prosecuting attorney referred to the Trout Lake Community Council as a private social club. I realize that the prosecuting attorney is an elected official, but he is also representing Klickitat County in an official capacity. I certainly hope that the Board of County Commissioners does not share this view and will state as such. I hope that the Board of County Commissioners recognizes the usefulness of community councils and are willing to affirm either individually or collectively that is a part of the public record. As a final comment, I would also like to say that the Trout Lake Community Council holds annual elections on National Election Day. Each year, 3 positions are voted on by community members. Elected council members serve for 3 years, and our election process is overseen by community members not on the council. All of this is done in accordance to the bylaws governing the council. This concludes my comments for today. Thank you once again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Miss Bambi.
Chairman,
Yes. Yes.
I would like to clarify it's a public meeting, not a public hearing.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Next. *6. Raise your hand. Turn your video on. Sherry.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I appreciate the last commenters speaking about community councils. As Commissioner Anderson knows, I am in the Houston-BZ area, where our Houston-BZ Community Council has just restructured itself. in an election. And it was talked about at our last community council that there will be rezoning done. And I believe this coordinates with the county updating their comprehensive plan. And as the last commenter had concern, what is a standing? What type of standing does a community council have in its area? As I believe Commissioner Anderson said in our community council meeting last Monday, that a community council does not have standing with the county. And as the county goes into their comprehensive plan, and I would like the commissioners to, talk about that in your 5 minutes. What is your expectation of getting this comprehensive plan in place? And what standing will you take from community councils, as Commissioner Anderson said at our community council meeting, as we go into rezoning? So I would like the commissioners to start, being forthcoming with the small communities that do have active community councils. And as the county moves forward to upgrade or to update your zoning in areas, and please speak about what your intentions are with the local community councils and what standing do they have when they come to the county with their ideas of what their local community should look like. So I would like that conversation from our commissioners. And would you please verify yes or no? Are you doing an overhaul of the comprehensive plan for the county? And are you going to be considering local community councils and their suggestions? And what is their standing? Thank you. Okay, and to finish up, are they just a social club or do they have standing?
Thank you, Ms. Bosque. Okay. Has anybody in the room changed your mind yet? All right, back online. *6, raise your hand, turn your video on. Not seeing anybody? Okay, seatmates, we've had quite a few people provide public comment. Would either of you like to respond to anyone?
I'll defer.
Okay. Would anybody else like to provide public comment? Public comment. I have a question. Ms. Bambi, if you're still there, is the Trout Lake Community Council a 501c3, or do you have any legal entity?
No, we are not a 501c3.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Okay, anybody else? Provide public comment. All right. You have
I guess,
anything?
yeah, I guess I would respond as far as to the community council question. This is actually this is an old question. This has come up before. The prosecutor spoke accurately. I mean, I know that can be difficult to hear sometimes, that community councils don't have standing in the strict legal sense. The county, as far as the Board of Commissioners, I mean, historically has relied on community councils. I certainly have personally. I try to make an effort to visit all the community councils in my district at least once a year and have interactions with them. They are a valuable asset as far as having direct input into a community. But as far as, from a legal standing, they don't have standing. That's why you have a set of bylaws, because just as any other private organization can have bylaws that incorporate the rules, that's what community councils are. They, as to the question as to what their role in the comprehensive plan update, which yes, we are certainly considering, we certainly need to update our comp plan. We're having discussions, I think the board is deliberating on or discussing that. We have historically utilized community councils and their input in developing updates in the comp plan as far as in the sub-area plans to varying degrees of success, I would say, in my experience. I think community councils are an excellent resource when doing those updates, as long as they are provided support in developing those plans. We inevitably end up with conflict when community councils kind of go it on their own and develop what they consider to be updates to their sub-area plans that are maybe things that they want to do, but that we are unable to do, that are either contrary to other planning law that they are unaware of. And that just sets us up for conflict, and because now they've delivered this plan that we pick apart, and you are naturally, if I've worked on this as a community, I'm going to be upset if the county now is tearing it all apart. And so I think the solution to that is to have the county be engaged in actually leading any kind of planning effort. The lead needs to come from the county, and then utilize the community councils.
Anything you'd like to say? Okay. I will clarify, since Sherry's mentioned what I said. What I said was the community councils of at least Hewson BZ have no legal standing because it is not a legal entity. There are multiple community councils in this county that went through the process and became 501c something organizations, and they could have legal standing in any type of a conflict, where it is in essence a social club. With that said, having served on a community council for 15 years and volunteered for close to 20, I do take into consideration what the community councils do say. I do try to attend them, and I hold them in high regard. And my goal, as I've stated multiple times, is that when we get to sub-area planning again, when we get someone on staff as a senior planner, a long-range planner, that is one of the directions that I want that person to do, is work with the community councils. Even after you've worked with the community councils, that still gets handed off to the planning commission, at which point it becomes a county document. And the county planning commission, that's appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, then takes ownership of that document. And what comes out the backside of that is not always the same as what the community wanted, but you're also zoning an area that is part of the county at whole. And the planning commission looks at it from an at whole standpoint. And that has always been my goal. So I hope that answers your question, Ms. Bosquet. And thank you, Ms. Bamby, for telling me that the Trout Lake Community Council is in the same situation as Hewson, and I believe Snowden as well. Okay. Pat, if you wouldn't mind holding, I'm going to open it up for public comment again. Again, we are in public comment. This is not the time for the commissioners to do all the talking. If you have any comment, please raise your hand, turn your mic on, turn your video on, get our attention somehow. And I'll open that up for those in the audience as well. What did share? You have anything? Let's just read it. Okay, Pat, I would like to say, I'm a firm believer in the separation of church and state. And you asked if we would like that sent to us. Could you say who that was again? I didn't write the name down of that organization.
It's called Americans United. I'm not familiar with them. I just saw this posted someplace and went and read it, but I'm happy to send it to you.
Could you please forward that to the BOCC so that we can see what was written?
Sure.
How many pages was it?
Oh, it's not long. It's 2.25 pages,
Oh.
basically. It's
Okay, I'll read that.
pretty dense. It's pretty dense with legal references.
Okay. Was that what you wanted to say where you raised your hand?
No. No, I had something else to say.
Well, since you're talking, you might as well just tell us.
I think that on this issue of the prosecuting attorney's remarks about social club, I think we all understand that we don't have any official existence, that the official existence of the community councils sunsetted quite a few years ago. They were set up by the state, but that legislation sunsetted. I think we all know that. I think that what's offensive is that to be called a social organization. I do not remember a time when the Trout Lake Community Council did anything even faintly resembling something social, like having dinner together or meeting to talk about anything other than land use, policies, fire prevention, issues that affect the community. So I think that you should, that's what you need to hear, is that social is really not descriptive. And
Well, I will say, Pat, one of the things that we were talking about at our most recent community council is it was our first time meeting in public since COVID began, and it was really amazing. And that social aspect is one thing we absolutely want to do, and that is host a big barbecue and bring the community back together who hasn't seen each other. Because I can tell you the people living there today are definitely not the same people that were living there in the area last time we were met. But it is also good that those of us who've been around continue to remind the community that we don't have legal standing.
right, and I mean, we're also talking about ways we can get together in person and have an event or something. But under no stretch of the imagination are we a social club.
Okay.
And the other thing is that on the issue of planning, as you all remember, well, and Dave, I gotta say, some of us moved into your district in 10 years ago or more now, and maybe you could refresh my memory about how many times you've been to the Trout Lake Community Council since then. I'm remembering maybe once or twice, but certainly not anything resembling every year. If we need to extend you an invitation for you to come, we will try to do that. But if we remain in your district, but I always, I listen to the discussion about this kind of stuff, and at the same time, I'm hearing the kinds of the message that you guys always deliver to the state. The locals know best. The locals know best. Leave it to the locals, right? Well, the community councils are closer to you than you are to the state government, but still, we do represent a local voice. And I totally agree that what needs to happen is that the county, when you have the personnel and the resources, need to set up a planning process that really encourages and highlights the local voices, but at the county, at the leadership under the direction of the county. But the point is, we are the local voice.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you for all of your time serving on the community council and your work on the last comprehensive sub-area plan update that you put forward. Commissioner Sauter, would you like to respond to that?
First, with all due respect, Ms. Arnold, I have come to Trout Lake anytime I've been asked. I generally do reach out if I have not had an invitation And I actually make the ask. And I can verify that with my clerk because we've done it before. And so I do take a little issue with that. And it's, if that's your perception, I can respect that. I also would push back a little bit on your characterization that community councils know they have no official standing. That is not my experience. I have the most community councils of any district, and perhaps yours is the outlier, but there is generally most of the conflicts come with the community councils of the community councils not understanding their role, which is they don't have an official role as far as they are not, it's not a municipality. It is not a quasi governmental office. And again, I am happy that Trout Lake is so enlightened that you don't suffer with those misperceptions, but that is not my experience out across the rest of the county.
Thank you, Commissioner Sauter. Commissioner Christopher, was there anything you'd like to say today?
I have nothing.
All right. We have time for one more public comment. Is there anybody who would like to provide public comment in the room? No? All right, online? Not seeing anyone. Last chance. Okay, we've got a couple more minutes so we can get some stuff signed. If somebody has the last moment, just try to get our attention.
Gibby, can you let me into my office?
Oh, Sherry, since I gave Pat a little extra time, you have just about 2 minutes. What would you like to say, Ms. Bosque?
Yes, going along with the communities being heard as the county moves forward with their comprehensive plan updates. I would like to also join in the conversation and saying it is the locals that live in that area, and we are the local experts to our area. And, I'm concerned, and I'm putting this out there, that the Houston-Beasley area has been targeted as before for a large rezoning, which would then put an untold amount of houses up this valley, which does not fit the rural character of the Houston-Beasley Valley. So as we move forward, I think it's very important that the local areas are consulted, and not just for the gain of the county, but to keep the people in mind that you are elected to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bosque.
Let me check and see if the bills right now. 'Cause I haven't seen that.
And I would apologize to my seatmate. I know we have a strict rule that we've been trying to follow, and everybody only gets one chance, so I will adhere to that. I know.
I think Gibby's got it.
You have the bills.
3 minutes.
Where's that?
All right. All right, being as it is close to 1:30, I'm going to close public comment. I would like to thank everyone for your comments and for being so respectful in your communications as always. And we will see you all again next Tuesday for public comment. We are going to be moving on to public hearings, public meetings, bid openings, and we are going to have a public meeting to consider the approval of short plat SPL 2021-19. Applicants Gary Gotcha, and you can say the parcel number.
Okay. Short plat SBL 2021-19 is a proposal to create two lots from parcels 04113000000700 and 04102500000700. These are two parcels that equal 1 legal lot. The short plat is in the Houston vicinity. A SEPA appeal. The SEPA was appealed, however, the MDNS was upheld in agreement. The administrative review of the short plat has been completed. Signatures have been obtained from the road, health, and planning departments, including the treasurer's office. All conditions attached to preliminary approval have been met. If the board finds that it's in the public's interest to approve the short plat, a motion needs to be made granting final approval of SPL 2021-19 applicant Gary Gottschalk.
Yep, please.
Is this not the same property that we had the repairing area question on? I thought this already got approved on this parcel, or what was that?
It was preliminary approval.
Okay.
But but yeah, this is the final approval.
Any other questions? No? Question, anything else?
No.
All right, if hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve short plat SPL 2021-04 and grant final approval. The applicants
What
are,
plat?
what's that?
2021-19.
Teen.
What do you want?
There's a typo in my initial memo.
Oh.
Mine's corrected, however.
Okay, yeah, 19, right?
19.
2 out of 3.
Okay, 19. Okay, good. Say I have 19. Yes, 2021-19. And grant final approval.
All right, I will step down to second the motion. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
Hey,
All right, let the record show the motion carries.
Commissioner Anderson? We cannot hear anything on the microphone that's coming through from the table, I guess. I couldn't hear anything.
The lights.
Uh-oh.
You want me to go back? Was it not on?
Thank you very much for letting us know, Miss Bambi, and we apologize. This was, if you look at the packet for the day, which you can find online, this was short plat SPL 2021-19. Okay, that is good to know. So now we can move on to,
My chief is out sick today. I need to cover in custody, so I'll be back in about half an hour. Don't adjourn, we do need an executive talk about litigation.
absolutely. Thank you, sir. Okay. Okay, we are going to move on to Washington State Department of Natural Resources, Southwest Region State Lands Assistant Manager, and that's a long name, Larry Leach, and Natural Area Manager Kenya Bugner. Keena Bugner. For a discussion concerning a grant opportunity that would allow DNR to purchase and manage 126 acres of privately owned lands within the approved boundary of the Trout Lake Natural Area Preserve. Hi, guys.
Hello. Good to see you all again, and Commissioner Christopher. I don't think we've met before. We have now. Yeah, so I'm Larry Leach. I'm the Southeast Region Assistant Region Manager, and with me is Keena Bugner, our Natural Areas Manager, and Yeah, we wanted to let Keena talk to you about a grant application that she's working on in the Trout Lake area. And then I had promised to bring you guys a map of the county trust lands before the pandemic, so I'm finally doing that. And then just talk about whatever other questions for DNR you might have that I could answer. I'll let Keena go.
Okay, great.
Tell us about the project,
Yeah, so I'll hand out maps. Is that
please.
okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so I was going to give just a little background on Trout Lake Natural Area Preserve and then the grant proposal. So the Trout Lake Natural Area Preserve was established in 1996 and it covers a little over 2,000 acres. And the site includes a high quality mid-elevation wetland. It's pretty unique to the South Central Washington area. It's very structurally diverse, forested wetlands, emergent wetland. It has Trout Creek that runs through lengthwise of the site. And there's several rare plants and animals on the site. So there's three sensitive plants, the rosy owl clover and the pale blue-eyed grass, and then that are in the seasonal wet meadow areas, and then the pulsiferous monkey flower in the forested areas of the site. One of the conservation targets at the site is also the Oregon spotted frog, which is a federally listed rare species. It's two of the there's about 8 known locations within Washington, and the two largest locations are in eastern Washington, one being at the Trout Lake Natural Area Preserve, and then the other area is at Convoy. And we've been monitoring that location, that population since 1997, and as well as doing ongoing habitat management improvements to improve the habitat there. There's also sandhill cranes that nest at the site. We found a nest there several years ago. And then is also an area near a nest or within habitat for the northern spotted owl. And this site is also really well loved by the local community. There's a boat launch that people can launch kayaks and canoes on. There's an interpretive trail, and that provides wonderful wildlife viewing areas. And then we also work with school groups at that site for educational opportunities and service projects to help with our restoration efforts there. So the grant proposal is for submitting a grant application through the Recreation and Conservation Office. It's the category is within the Washington Wildlife and Recreation Program in the natural areas acquisition category. And it would be to acquire 126 acres of privately owned property that's within the approved boundary from willing sellers. We've contacted the landowners that would be included in this proposal, and they are willing to be included and have discussions if we did get the money for acquiring their parcels. One of the areas is a breeding area for the Oregon spotted frog. It's the last wetland breeding area that's on private land within the Trout Lake watershed. So this acquisition would include that into the NAP and provide us opportunity to continue with the monitoring, continue with habitat management improvements, and as well as provide connectivity between that breeding area and Trout Creek, which is the permanent water source where the adults hang out during the summer. There's also some nice forested areas, oak pine forest areas that were previously managed for timber. So that's the main grant the grant proposal. We'll submit the application May 3rd, and then follow that process. We'll know if we get approved, how it ranks and how well it scores by the end of the summer. So I open it up to any questions or comments you have about the proposal, the grant application proposal.
Questions for my seatmates?
If I may.
Mhm.
So you're going to submit, you said in May. When is the grant cycle usually run? When would you get an answer?
Yeah, so it's, the application is due May 3rd, and then it gets scored, it gets ranked. We'll know the ranking system, how it ranks compared to other projects by the end of the summer, probably early fall. And then it's a state funded, capital funded.
So
Proposal.
are there dollars in the capital fund now
It
for
won't
this
be, not
until the next
budget
biennium?
cycle.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so we won't know
you won't know,
until,
okay.
yeah, next summer or spring.
Right, right.
Once the
Okay.
budget cycle.
That's all I needed to
Yeah,
know.
sorry.
I didn't know if it was a
Sorry.
current appropriation and then,
No, it's a new, yeah, it'd be
Okay.
a new one. Yeah.
all right.
Which area is the breeding area?
Of the parcel, on those parcels, the far north, west parcel up there.
The one
is
up in the corner.
in the
Okay.
corner, yep.
And then, how much of this property is currently held by conservation groups that you're looking to purchase?
Yeah, so some of that area was bought by Conservation Fund through the SDS cell. So most of those parcels, I think one parcel is the Twin Creek.
Any idea how big that is?
How big the
The non-conservation fund
fund?
piece
It
is?
would be that northwest corner. I
Northwest.
think it's a 40 acre.
Okay, the A.
The-
Oh, I guess it says
yeah,
A.
well, yeah.
And so with the funds, can't see the numbers. Is it enough to cover just the A or the A and the B? Because it shows you have priority here.
Yeah. So the A and the B is really just different owners. I think in that one I actually did put all of A as conservation fund. I just found out it was separate. But there's not the money would cover both of those, cover all of those parcels that we would be applying for. That answers your question.
Okay, so it
The
covers
A and
A
B
and-
is just acknowledging a different owner, basically. We don't put names on our application, so it's just identifying the owners.
And all of the owners have agreed to sell if you do get the funds?
So we would get the funds, we would go through the normal, appraisal process, all of that. If they agreed to that price that we had, then they would be they're willing to at least have negotiations, I guess, and discussions on it.
Okay.
And then if they agree with the price and the terms, then they could sell. They're interested.
Questions, thoughts?
This is an old comment before, as far as, and this is not, this natural area preserve has been in existence for quite some time now. You're not talking about expanding the boundaries. These are, acquisitions within the already approved, designated area preserve. I will just restate, the concern is always that, what kind of regulatory shadow these natural areas may have across their border as far as outside. And we have not seen evidence of that. And I will say that is comforting to me, because that's one of the things I worry about sometimes, that we have, we have hard boundaries, but then buffers, or even when there's not buffer zones, they're referenced in, when there's regulatory, it references, next door is this other thing, and that has an impact, and we're always really sensitive to that. And so, but I have not ever seen any evidence of that in this circumstance. And so I'm inclined to not be too concerned about you guys going for these additional funds. Again, it's within the existing boundary. So if we were talking about expanding, I would be having a different conversation.
Yeah.
We would have had a conversation before we come down here too.
Has this natural area preserve boundary been expanded over the years?
Yes,
Yeah.
it has.
Yes, it has.
This one has been expanded.
Yes.
And was it expanded to include these?
No, the most recent expansion included it was some trust land, some DNR trust land for spotted, northern spotted owl habitat areas. These have always been in there because we've known, particularly with the frogs, that one northwest corner, we've known they've been there for years, so it's been included in the boundary for quite a while.
Yeah, I seem to recall one of my visits to Trout Lake was about that expansion, but
Historical knowledge. I just say, the hard one for me is always, we manage public dollars and public resources. And whenever we're taking more tax dollars to purchase lands that are already held by a conservation group, that's always the hardest sell for me. Because to me, that land's already conserved. It's owned by a conservation group. And so you're just changing the name on the title, but there's no actual change. So did we get any benefit for all those public dollars?
So I heard this morning that Conservation Trust, they're only holding it for 10 years. And then they're gonna offload. I don't know if there's any truth to that rumor.
Interesting.
I don't know. Usually.
Maybe I'm starting rumors.
Usually companies don't tell us their plans in an open public
Yeah.
meeting.
So I've seen this trend in other counties in our
Shopping.
region where a conservation group buys it to try and find a long-term conservation owner, but it's not them. And they have green investors who want to use their money in this fashion.
And likely want a return on their investment.
Exactly. Well, and you know that land value will go up. It always does.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are looking for a letter of support, I'm under guessing?
What are we looking for?
Yeah, just that letter of support is great. That we can, for the grant application, we just
or at least a
need-
letter of no comment.
Or letter of no comment, but just something that because for the grant application, we just have to present this and let you guys notify that this is being submitted, this grant proposal. And if you have any comments or, if you're supportive of that, that's great, but it's really just us letting you know. And
Will
you'd
you
like to have
plan on
comments.
paying PILT on these properties?
Yes.
Yes.
So long as the legislature appropriates the money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, seatmates, would you like to provide a letter or comment or no comment?
Well, that would be my question is, if we were gonna do a letter, when would you need that letter by?
Well, the grant application, May 3rd would be the grant application time. I'd like to have it by then.
So we have a week to think about it. And that's what I would prefer to do.
Okay.
And you'll probably get an email from Olympia, kind of asking about that letter too. They're kind of blasting all the counties where there's grant proposals.
We'll file them accordingly for a week.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
Larry.
Yeah, so last time I chatted with you guys, you wanted a map of the county forest board lands. So we built one. The bold red is county trust, and then the pink is our other trust lands in the county. So I'll leave this with you guys.
How many
Does the
acres did you
pink-
come up with?
What's that?
How many acres did you come up with? 20,411?
If you have the right number off the top of your head, I'm gonna.
I built my own,
Oh.
so I want to see
how
I want to see how we jive.
As I was driving here, I was thinking, how many acres is it? And I wanted to say it's 25,000-ish.
Doesn't say on there.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't got that far yet. I'm just looking at stuff.
I can dig that number up.
Okay.
And we have been able to, at the urging of Commissioner Franz, we've been trying to ramp up our forest health work. across the east side. So with that, we've been able to increase some harvest activity in Klickitat County, which has produced some timber sale revenue for the county that you've already seen. We've got another timber sale also near Trout Lake called Black Tip. That's 90% county trust land. The total value of that sale was $1.3 million. So you'll be seeing close to 90% of that. There's the 25% management fee that DNR holds back.
So if it's a 25% management fee, how are we gonna see 90%?
So what would that be? 90% of
The 75 left over.
100,000? It's really rough numbers.
So you
but
take the 1.3, subtract 25%, and then we'll see 90%.
You'll
of
see
that.
90% of that. Yep. Yep.
Got it.
Which we'll see it go
Through us.
We will see some of it.
Yeah. And then I think on track for this fall, there will be another timber sale that's 34% county trust. We haven't appraised that sale, but that one is a little larger. It's 4.5 million board feet. So that one should be a good revenue grabber. Also, last month we got a bid of $1,080 a thousand board feet for Douglas fir, and both these sales have pretty good component Douglas fir. So we're seeing bid prices like we've never experienced in Eastern
Bell,
Washington.
faster, more.
We're pushing. We have those two, and then two more coming up in the fiscal year 23, and then another sale in fiscal 24 in our pipeline planned right now.
And those two in 23 and the one in 24 both have components of county trust land?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
that's county trust of some proportion on each of those.
And Black Tip hasn't went out yet?
Blacktip is sold. We're waiting for the purchaser to tell us when they want to start. I imagine that'll be once the snow comes off.
How many acres was Black Tip?
I don't have the acres. I could probably figure out a volume real quick here. It's about 4 million board feet.
And that's 4 million board feet, $1.3 million.
Yes.
Is that the county's portion? Because Black Tip's not all county, is it?
No, it's 90% county.
90%.
So it'll be a portion of that. And we pay as the trucks go over the scale. And almost always the loggers squeeze more wood out of the logs than what our crew shows. So typically we'll overrun. So we'll get every penny we can out of it.
Okay.
It's actually good news today. I can use a little good news. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and that's really what I had come prepared with. Unless there's any other questions that you guys have for DNR.
So when we went to the Washington Association of Counties annual meeting, Hillary gave a presentation and we had a good conversation about especially the rural counties that rely on these dollars and creating, as we've talked about in the past, some sort of plan. I mean, don't get me wrong, I am really excited that we have 2 sales this year, 2 next year, and 1 in 24. I mean, we went through a lot of years with nothing. And, but setting up some sort of a planning for your staff that we need county trust property coming up every year and having that. and some sort of a goal, in essence, of board feet that we would like to see removed. And she sounded very positive on that and wanted to talk further about that. I don't know if she talked to you about that or not.
I hadn't heard that from Hillary, but I have heard from our group of folks that are working on an update to our sustainable harvest calculation. One of the ideas they're tossing around, which sounds like you may be supportive of, is creating a harvest calculation unit that is for the county trust lands and another unit for the other lands. So depending on the trust, we're on an even flow calculation, which would give us, I mean, for 25,000 acres, we probably could be pretty close with accuracy, even though it is a model and all models are wrong. Some are useful. I think that could give us a pretty good idea on how to get to an even flow. And then those calculations are updated every decade. So if growth rates are off or catastrophic fire happens, we need to salvage, you know, we have those adjustments we can make every decade. So that's an idea that's being tossed around, and that's probably why Hillary was optimistic that she could figure out a way for even flow.
I mean, that is what we've been asking for at least since 2015, so.
Yeah, because we had quite a stretch there where we weren't finding any timber sales on county trust while we were letting stuff grow.
Right.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, that is, I think it has been, we've been asking for that. It's been, our revenues off the county trust has been so erratic.
Yeah.
That we, in the past, have not actually really budgeted them. We just kind of have a placeholder because we don't really know, and we can't. But I think the board certainly has the desire to have as we said, those days are gone. That it would be nice to have some sort of a number that we can plug in to the budget on a sustainable, about what we can plan on, because we need those revenues as far as like to put them into the budget, instead of just like, oh, look, we got this extra, oh, it's a bonus, let's just park it over here and do something fun with it later.
Would like to have you sign a letter of support.
I can certainly get on board with that idea.
I mean, we've
we
certainly
can trade
used every dollar we've gotten for, for good purpose, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know of a county that
I know.
is flush with cash.
Yeah.
But I've played this game before with Wahkiakum County where they would have the timber sales on a whiteboard in their commissioner chamber all the time.
Yeah, oh, yes, they did
Every
down
penny.
there. Because it was such an important part of their budget.
Okay, other questions? I know you have other meetings to get to, so we'll let you off easy this time.
How come this didn't come framed with glass and everything? I mean, we gotta fund it.
I didn't
The
know how you
framing
wanted
and
to use
everything
it.
too?
I thought you were gonna drive around and it's hard to have a framed poster in
No,
your
my
truck.
hope is to get that on a wall. Thank you, sir and ma'am.
I kept your last one on my wall for 10 years.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming.
Okay,
Good to
thanks.
see you in person now that we can. Yep. All right.
Yeah, I figured one of these days we're gonna hang pictures and we're gonna figure out where they go and.
We're gonna put holes in our walls?
No, they use the sticky things. The sticky mounters.
Okay.
We're not allowed to put holes in our walls.
Jeff King, come forward. Filiberto.
Yeah. No, that was quick. So you gotta be worried about DNR putting things back on the tax rolls too. Because sometimes they own property that they wanna put back on the tax rolls. One of them.
I need a microphone.
Right there. Sure.
I'll share mine. That is,
That's right. That's right.
put it on the
Yeah,
top.
so we get- This one on the tax roll.
Oh,
Thanks. It went out to bid.
I'll share my
There
microphone
was no bidder.
with you, Rob. I won't.
right.
He's making me sit off to the side over there.
I know. If I can't keep my eye on him,
Like I always, yeah, you like to have a right where you.
he can step on my
Arms reach.
he can step on my foot too.
I'm here to back him up way.
Way,
Way
way
back.
Gentlemen,
Yes. Good afternoon, commissioners. I'm here to discuss the staffing issues in the Department of Emergency Management. To start out with, the administrative assistant's position has had an employee that's been on leave of various types for an extended period of time. At this point, it's become a situation where we can no longer cover all of those duties effectively with myself and other members of my staff. I have no end date for this that is known at this point. It's continued past the point of our ability to cope with it. So I'm requesting that I be able to hire a temporary person for this position to cover the 3 days a week that are not being covered right now. The current full-time employee is working 2 days a week and on leave the rest.
I'm assuming this is in your budget since they're a full-time employee?
That's correct. Yeah, the 3 days a week, we're not
Right.
expending any county
right.
funds right now, correct?
Yeah, currently the lease she's on is covered by the state, so, but that hasn't always been the case, may not always be the case, so. Some of the costs will be offset by that, some of it won't. But it's been for quite a while, and I think just things are gonna start falling through the cracks.
That is a very accurate statement.
Do we? I'm new to this thing. Do we get asked, do we think this is a long-term plan or a short-term solution? Or he's shaking his head, so I can't even ask that question. So don't answer that question.
Oh, he's shaking his head. He didn't step on my foot, so I wasn't sure if I could answer it. Yeah, right now, as I stated, we don't
Truly don't know.
have any.
We don't know, we're just
any
trying to
idea.
fix what we're fixing right now.
Correct.
We don't have that control.
And I've been advised that the solution for that would be that temporary employee so that, you know, when the full-time employee is ready to come back, then that's the solution.
so when you were trying to, we've had a lot of talks. When you were in here last time, the discussion was, do we bring somebody on? And if so, how's that hire? I mean, if it's gonna be short-term, 3 months, who's gonna train them? Who's gonna get them ready? Do we have somebody in mind that can step into the role?
I'm sorry, I just want to back up a minute. I've not brought this request to you
Yeah, it's a
previously.
Oh, this is a,
different spot on the org chart.
Sorry,
And we don't know.
Different department.
And we have no idea if it's gonna be 3 months or
yeah.
33 months.
Okay.
We don't know.
sorry, I thought we were talking about the one we'd been talking about before. Yeah, I thought we talked about that like 2 weeks ago.
No, I have not brought this.
It may have been mentioned that they were not fully staffed in that function.
Never mind, it was a different department.
He's updated
It's
us
the
on
same
the
issue.
personnel,
different
it just
department.
hasn't had an ask.
I believe
There you
that's
go.
correct,
Got it.
yes.
Sorry, I apologize,
No
Mr. King.
need. Just,
Keep Jeff on
I
his
was like,
toes.
yeah, sometimes I can't
What'd you look
remember.
at me
when
for?
He asked so many
He looked
times
at me
about
like-
so many things, they're hard to keep track of.
Yes.
Yes. So I guess I will ask the question then, that we asked the other director, and that was in the same situation. We think that it's gonna be short-term. Do we have the ability to train, do you have your staff have the ability to train the person to do the job? Are they gonna be able to do the job if it's only for a short amount of time?
Yes. That's my assessment.
I believe one of the differences is the other department director anticipated person coming back fairly soon.
Okay,
We have no idea in this case.
okay.
And this person's been gone for quite a while. I mean, not been full-time for quite a while. So,
Will that person, the person who's currently working?
Hello. Hi, commissioners and Jeff and Rob. This is Randy Heinzen. And I'd like to let you know that I have a leave with the state that's 12 weeks old for 12 weeks, and my leave ends June 4th. And I will be working 20 hours a week as of this week. If you have any more questions, I'm here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
so their request still stands, sir, does it not?
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Okay, well, will they only be working on the opposite days when, or, so there's no training involved from the person who's currently working part-time? I'm just trying to figure out who's training and how, because I see how busy you are.
Yes. It would be most advantageous if the current administrative assistant was able to train some things for this new position, other things I can train or at least coach on. We're not talking about the higher level activities. That's what the current administrative assistant would be doing in her 2 days a week.
Thoughts?
I'm a yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. So next.
Next.
Yes, yes, sir.
That's cruel.
Don't, yeah. Don't think this isn't difficult. However, I would be remiss in my duties if I did not bring this to your attention and let you know the current status of the communications officer staffing situation that we are in and that we expect to continue in. What we know, the first thing that I gave you in that packet was actually the original request back in September of last year for the addition of 3 people to the org chart for communications officers to help us maintain sufficient staffing levels. The next one is a mock schedule that starts with May. That's the one that I'm talking about now, May of 2022. This is our current situation if nothing changes. What we know to be the facts between May and October of this year. On the far right side, at the end of each line, there are the OT in a column. The OTs that each one of those people will be putting in, the overtime, by month. And this accounts for us currently having 7 communications officers. So we're down 3. As of the 19th of this month, so next Tuesday, we have 1 leaving, and 1 person out of the 3 that we started training back in November is actually going to successfully complete that training. So we will just trade one for the other. And then in July, we have another person that we know will be going on leave for at least 3 months. And that will bring us down to 6 full-time communications officers. We have 1 casual with a limited amount of availability to fill in those shifts. Chief of Operations, Filiberto, has been filling in many shifts already. When we get to the place where we're down to only 6, he will have to be in the schedule full-time plus doing extra shifts, as well as everybody else, to cover for 24/7, 2-on coverage. The next set of mock schedules that starts in July would be if for any reason, one more person leaves. And also I'll put in, so in the first set in October, that is the current scenario. When we hire 3 people that we're authorized to hire right now and put them in training as soon as possible, which we're hoping to be May 1st or May 15th, they would come out of training October 15th. And based on our historical averages in training attrition, and the current one being 2/3, 1 out of 3 made it through training successfully. That is what's shown in the September, October of both of these sheets. At that point, for the second set, starting in July, like I mentioned, we'd be down to 5 full-time plus the chief of operations. And the schedule becomes much more difficult to fill 24/7 with 2 people on. At some point, we will either have to go to 1 communications officer on duty or take back vacations.
If I may, Jeff.
Yes.
Currently on the current situation where we're at with the schedule starting in May, if you look at August, we are going to require vacations back. That is really not negotiable. We've looked at it where we had 2 people on vacation at one time. We are gonna need one of those people to voluntarily give back that vacation. I'm hoping voluntarily, which I have no doubt, but that will be an additional 96 hours of overtime according to the contract. Will be paid overtime rate for each one of those hours given back.
Can they just, do they have the option of moving their vacation some other time?
Yes, yes.
And then
And
do they still get the overtime?
Yes, this is seniority bid vacation. So if that is changed for any other reason than the employee's request, that is then has to be authorized by me. Because there's or do we take that out of the new contract? No give backs.
It's in there.
It's still in there. But yes, unless they voluntarily gave it up, if they work any of that seniority bid vacation, that's all overtime.
So then why would we have authorized, knowing where our staffing is, to have 2 people out on vacation at the same time?
The seniority bid vacations are done in October and November of the previous year.
Right.
So we did not know that was gonna be the current situation. I had no way of knowing over a year in advance of those.
And the union's very sensitive, protective of these vacations.
Well, no, I'm protective of the vacations as well.
So we're very sensitive to it too.
It's just that we've been in this position, it seems, for a long time now.
Not this position.
Yeah, this is worse than
We've
that.
had trouble with attrition through training. We've had trouble with turnover. Since, when was that? They'll help me out late. It's in August, September of last year. There's been a cascading series of events that's brought us to here.
Yeah. You have retirements, you have medicals.
Yeah, and essentially in August, if we did not have the one person off on medical leave, we would be able to manage that and I would cover their vacation just so we can get them
Okay,
those
so
days off.
I have a question, statement, possible answer. When we go out to hire, you obviously take applications and you choose the best choices you think that are there that applied. And you try to train them to do a job that I think some of them don't realize what's really entailed, including graveyard shifts, babies and car accidents, things like that.
Things they can't anticipate unless they've already done.
Or
it.
they think they can do and then realize they can't. We know through the last salary survey that the employees there were underpaid. We're compensating with that with a pay bump this year and a pay bump next year. But we have some positions in this county, and your department is one of them, that we just have trouble filling. You can't fill them as fast as you can even apply for them. Do you think and it's only a question, do you think that a sign-on longevity bonus, if you last a year, blah, 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 you receive X number of dollars? I hate to even bring that up because the people that are already there then complain, well, how come I don't get money for staying here? But I'm just trying to rationalize in my head, how can we get you the employees that can make it through training? Because that's the problem. I mean, it's almost like you need to hire for 6 to hope that 3 will stay.
Exactly what I'm here to ask today. Right now, I'm authorized to hire 3. I'm 3 down. My assessment is that we need to hire 6 to make up for the attrition in training and overturn. And hopefully turn this situation around by October of this year. Your last sheet shows exactly that for November. If we put 6 people in training and get half or of those people, so 3 or even 2, we will be close to full staffing and able to move on.
But then would you move on with
grounding.
6 in that org chart, or would you move on with 3?
That is the question, whether this can be a permanent thing or whether this can be a temporary thing. But as I brought to you in September, as the structure review panel worked on most of last year and brought to you in September as a proposal, it was for 3 additional comms officers, so that we have the flexibility to have multiple people in training. Because when they're in training, they're not in the schedule. They can't fill a shift for coverage of 911 call taking and emergency dispatching. That's the catch. So once you get to a point where you have so many people that are not in a full-time status but are in training, then the comms officers that are left are not just filling excessive overtime to cover 24/7, but also multiple of them are training at the same time. So they're training a normal shift. We put our trainees in 410s usually, or 4 10-hour shifts per week, no overtime in training because it's not efficient or effective. And then, so they're paired with a training officer. They're doing their regular job and training, and then they're filling additional shifts through that week on a regular basis. If we can get to the point where we have the ability, not that we're going to hire the full amount to our org chart, all the time, but we have the ability to have more people in training than we need to make up for that attrition. And while we're training for 5 to 6 months, any loss in employees, that's where we have really been caught now. The last attrition was 2/3, and we've had 3 people or 2 people leave since we started training those first 3 people. That's where the snowball really picks up speed.
I think to give a little more feedback, not to answer your question, is there are ways that we can, work it to where somebody staying, would receive a benefit. But my biggest concern is not keeping them a year. So right now, the way we're working it, in the way that the center feel is the challenge is to keep the dispatchers that we have, knowing that in this profession, the average lifespan career of a dispatcher is 5 years.
Especially when they're working that much overtime.
Correct. So we have a 5-year life expectancy for that career. In Klickitat County, because it's rural, it tends to be a little higher because we don't see the same volume calls or type of calls that the city does. So it gives us a little cushion there.
We do also have longevity pay in the current contract.
Yeah.
So the people that have been here more than
I
5
said,
years.
I'm fully aware that any kind of a recruitment bonus type of thing is a Band-Aid to a bad sore. But you've came in asking for some Neosporin for a long time, and you can't get it. And I don't know, it's frustrating to me.
I just reminded the commissioners, about 122 days ago, you told the union no on recruitment bonuses and retention bonuses. So I think they'd probably be happy to include that. Should be a thoughtful decision because you won't apply it to one bargaining unit without applying it to others.
Oh, I'm not applying it to any.
And then where would we stop? Because we have senior
I
planner.
was just brainstorming.
No, I know, I'm just saying that the union, as of today, that's an issue. And another thing that they're very sensitive about, and I'm not speaking on behalf of the union, is last time Jeff declared a staffing emergency, it was almost a grievance. Basically, the thought was that it's a staffing problem, not an emergency situation as defined by the union. So he's kind of, I think it's gonna.
This
next
sounds
time we
like an
file it,
emergency situation to me.
well, but if it goes on for a year, an emergency other than maybe a couple of governors, typically doesn't run forever. They typically are truly an emergency with a beginning and an end, and this is an ongoing issue. It's not a short-term
I
emergency.
see where they're saying it.
Situation is, yeah.
Solutions, okay? First solution I ask is, if you don't have somebody and you end up having to take someone's vacation away, what is worse, losing that person because you took their vacation away and made them work overtime, or going down for just one person on during that week?
So I'll answer to that. Like I said, the feel in the center right now is I've posed the question, because in having these discussions, the dispatchers would rather work the overtime, but no days off, than to set up one of their partners for failure. Failure means death of an officer, a first responder, or somebody in the community. So if we cannot,
Or just having made a critical
A
error
critical
because
error.
they can't keep up.
if we cannot take a call and dispatch it at the same time and manage the radio traffic that goes along with it in any critical situation or a minor situation that becomes critical because they can't handle it, it's gonna be a bigger failure. We're gonna lose a dispatcher, whether it be because of reprimands or the consequence, or their ability to cope with a situation that they were part of.
Okay, so
So
what I'm saying though is the direction you're currently heading right now, if with nothing else, is you will be down to one staffing. If you never know, if someone gets in an accident on the way to work, this is where you're going.
Yep.
Okay? And we don't want to get there.
There's highly likely, the odds in the next 6 to 8 months, we will have no choice but to have one comms officer at certain times during the
At
day.
certain periods of time, okay? And that's just something that, it doubles your workload. You're already working overtime, you're already overworked, okay? And that's why I've always said, bring in what the speed of these transitions are on the last 5 years so that we can always be hiring. Losing 2 out of 3, it's a lot of money spent training these people that are not considered to be filling in and not filling a spot. So it's like having twice as many employees as you currently have, and it's expensive. And we need to always be doing that recruitment. I don't know how currently we create it so that, because if you hire 6 and all of a sudden now you're overstaffed to the budget because they all suddenly miraculously make it through, and where does that put us? You know what I'm saying? Does that mean, do we have the ability, or how we hire them, to say, we have this many positions open right now. We don't expect everybody to make it because that's the fact of the job. Not everybody makes it. If you do make it through and we only have this many full-time positions open, then some of you may end up rolling over into that casual role until that regular churn comes. And is that something that we can design into their HR?
And I would echo onto that, sorry, I'll step forward, and say, could we hire the whole 6 as a casual knowing that there's 3 positions at the end of the field goal line.
There's rules on how many hours casuals can work for how many months, and we've tried that. When I got here, the casuals weren't being effectively used, and I've tried to do that through training, use that casual box. There's a lot of complications to that. I've also had the conversation with HR about creating these as, hires in training. So, communications officers, trainees specifically are those boxes, those 3 boxes.
And I think we have good partners in the union in this case, actually, because I think they understand the stress of the current staffing out there and the workload. I think you're going to see the same thing in the sheriff department as we start to see more and more turnover there. And so I don't think this is unique to this department. And to your point, Commissioner Christopher, we may very well have to consider recruitment or retention bonuses for certain positions as well as non-union positions. Prosecuting attorneys, deputies are hard to find, senior planners are hard to find, fiscal positions are hard to find and or keep. It's the labor market is not going to change in the next 6 months.
So if I can just keep us on our current crisis rather than expanding.
Right.
to the- I'm intrigued with the idea, yeah, stomp on his foot, of creating training boxes in it. Because I'm actually not that concerned about, if we expand it, we do 6, so we're going to end up with 6 that are all here. And then what are we going to do? History hasn't shown us that we have been, part of the reason we have the problem, I think, is that we have never been at full staff really for just brief glimmers here and there. And so everybody's we're just burning that overtime, which there's the dollar piece of it, but there's the personnel piece of it, is that we're circling the drain, because the more they have to work, you burn them out and they're gone. So I'm wondering without how would we do in the contract if we created where we have boxes that are training boxes and that you are hired into that position, and so that you have these open training boxes, because we can't authorize you to hire for boxes that we don't have on the chart. We can't do that. And I am concerned about just adding 3 boxes, 3 full, because in that, it's possible, but it's unlikely that those are going to be filled. And I'm willing to make that investment as far as to allow it to flex back and forth, is because even if it was at full, so that's what I'm wondering. How difficult would it be to put like 3 training boxes so that those people are not, so right now you have 3 vacant full-time
boxes.
You can hire for those. You're going for those. But what if we had 3 training boxes as well? And that's what they are. And so the idea would be, if you fill those trainers and they come up and fill those, we can have a discussion about refilling those other boxes as far as in
Typically,
a training.
box, you pay them less because they're not fully capable of doing the job.
Right.
Currently, we pay people.
Because currently now you go hire, you have 3 vacancies, you get 3 people in there, you stop advertising, you stop looking because every box is full. Well, we know historically half of them, 2/3 of them aren't going to come out the other side. You have to refill those. What if you had people in the...
And with the lag in that training process,
Right.
If they come out the other side, it's 5 to 6 months. And by the time, except for in rare occasions, that they either figure out this isn't for them.
Right.
Or that we figure out that they can't do the job. They won't fulfill their training requirements. That's at least 4 months in. Right. So yeah, then you got to start over, like you said.
So
you're 4 more months of overtime for the people that are left, the full timers that are still filling it.
So I'm kind of going with his idea there, but same deal. I don't think you're looking at if all 3 people do stay through training and do make it, and they're full-time comms officers, I don't think you're looking at hiring 3 new training people over and above. Am I right that you might just hire 1 or 2 because somebody will fall off up here? If everybody does make it through and unicorns fly, and
yeah,
well, then you're overstaffed.
It's not a simple solution.
Yeah, I mean, at times you could potentially be overstaffed.
But I think we could actually look at just accepting that for a short period, because in the overall, you're not going to be. I mean, I look at it as the way like the airlines, since having done a lot of flying in the last week or two, they overbook their flights. They are selling more seats almost every single time. And most of the time it works. Their plane is full, it's not overbooked. But once in a while, they got to shell out a little extra money. They got to buy somebody off because they actually sold, 5 more seats than are actually on the plane. But that happens very rarely. And I'm saying if it works in their industry, why can't it work in ours?
So, and a couple of things to consider too is in the long term, looking at how many dispatchers we're going to have of the group that we have. Are they nearing retirement? Because that's something we're looking at as, okay, how long will they stay? We are losing one right now because she got offered Monday through Friday job, 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, compared to rotating night shifts, day shifts, weekends, and your planned vacation is now called back to work. So we can't fight that at all. So
Can't
of those
compete with
6
that.
people, or of those 6 people plus the ones we have, how many more times is that going to happen? How many people are going to retire? Or, if you look at the overtime, how many people are going to be done with 80 hours of overtime? And nationwide, it's a problem at every comm
I
center.
look at it, this is a money problem, and you have, like the choices Phil is saying, you either start paying the employees $35 an hour, and then they won't leave for a Monday through Friday job, or you're paying the overtime, it's $35 an hour, or you put more boxes on the org chart.
I think it's worth
The
noting too,
more
though,
boxes on the org chart is the cheapest option of the 3.
that since Jeff has been here, they haven't lost anybody to another agency. Nobody's went to work at Wasco County or Hood River County. They're leaving for other reasons.
As a
Lots of
communications
other
officer,
reasons,
yeah.
as a communications.
Or to the
officer.
Monday through Friday stint. I have one of those in my house, so I'm well aware of it.
And we do have 2 people that are, one that can retire anytime.
So in the sheriff's office, the people that are going through the training, 2 to 5% washout rate. We don't have that with yours. And we have to be creative in how that's being done. And whether it's a training position and you're going to get a little bit less pay, so it gives you a reason to finish so you can become a real one. But the fact that they're sitting there training, but we can't fill, we're with 6 people, you're pretty much going to be having 2 regular plus at least 1 person. So you're going to be having 3 people in there at all times for the next few months. And some of those will make it, some of them are going to wash out. But you're also, when you're in training, that takes more time away from just doing the duties, right? So it's an added workload on our current people already there.
Correct.
And we have to, this is not going away, when you hire them into a full-time position and you're paying them full-time rates, in essence, you've got a third of your employees are not even really qualified to do anything.
Yep. Yeah, they can't perform even the basic functions of the job until their 4th month, really. And then they're not certified, qualified to do so. The last month of their training is that final vetting process, excuse me. But to Dave's point, to get right back to the point of why I'm here today, because the situation has changed in the last weeks, although we've seen this and anticipated the potential for this for years on my case, and almost a year most recently. Right now, if we don't do something to fix this problem so that we can come out, no matter how bad it gets between now and October or November, depending, we face the real possibility that we can't staff the comm center 24/7 with 2 people. And for one person to be in there alone, it will be very easy for them to get overwhelmed. As a solution, hiring 3 additional people into training, so a total of 6, as soon as we can get it done and put them into training, we can cover the wages and benefits costs of that with the current fund balance in 135. Over and above. You have some of those numbers for me.
Yeah, I have a question. When you got 3 boxes on your org chart for comms officer, and now we're talking about 3 in training that might make a lesser dollar amount or something. The problem I see with that is they're all rookies. And now some of them are less of a rookie than the guy that got hired at the exact same time. They're all rookies. They should all get the same benefits and the same pay.
If we go with that route, all 6 positions would have to be at the same.
They all need
The
to
training.
be comms officer or all need to be training. And then you might have 3 empty comms up here.
But that's
When
what you
these
truly
guys
have.
pass, they move up there and now we might drop your training down to 3 instead of 6.
And there would have to be, I don't mean to speak out of turn, there would definitely have to be conversations with the union before we,
Negotiations. with the
those,
union.
those titles, right, they're spelled out in the contract. Who is a union member, who's not.
We've basically been paying
Casuals are not.
entry-level employees, training employees, the same wages as fully trained employees.
So I guess my question is I'm saying, when you hire, let's not hire them as comms officers. Let's hire them all as training. And not even talking about pay structure or anything like that. That way they're all equal. They're all team members across the board. And when they graduate, they move into the above boxes. So it's either 6 training or 6 comms officers. Don't do 3 and 3 is I guess what I'm saying. You're gonna separate and cause division amongst teammates.
And the cost of, Jeff asked me, the cost of 3 entry-level positions fully loaded is about 150,000.
An additional 3.
Yeah, and then after 3 years, when they top out, it's today's rate about 186,000. That goes up 80% of the CPI the next 3 years.
And I don't like buts, but what I brought to you in September of last year showed the offset in that overtime that we incur on a regular basis for covering shifts because of open positions, offset those 3 people to a great extent. Not gonna make any promises to what that number is, but I gave you the best calculations we can at 3 and at 2 and then at 1.
I mean, we can engage the union in that discussion, the training and the group, that whole concept can be explored. No question about that.
Are the cities facing the exact same crisis that we are?
Cities.
They don't
Think-
have comms.
Well, no, like, because if you dial 911 in Portland, you can wait 45 minutes before someone picks up the phone. To me, that sounds like that would be us with only one person working,
That's correct.
or maybe half of a
Yeah,
person
but
working.
that causes people to die and I'm not interested.
Yeah,
Right.
And that is the situation nationwide in big cities. We had, last summer, we had our neighbors to the south in Oregon in an emergency situation requesting staffing from surrounding states for any comms officer on their days off to go work for them because they were in a situation much worse than us, but definitely where we're
They were a
heading.
smaller county in eastern Oregon, and they were down to what, 4?
Or and one was gonna be
One was,
leaving.
had postponed her retirement 2 months.
Okay, let's not
So
be
yes,
those people.
that is the trend nationwide.
Well,
Right.
but maybe we can be the example of
We've got to solve this problem.
Sure.
right. I mean, and the problem, the issue, because I think in the long run, it can solve itself. If you have a fully staffed where people are not burnt out and leaving, and that you realistically account for the level of attrition that's in the industry, it will kind of heal itself as far as, but we're doing the opposite. And then we wonder why it's not working. And it's happening everywhere.
Yep, the work environment will improve,
Right, in those other
Or-
places, I'm sorry, if we have a nice, stable place that people are not working 80 hours of mandatory overtime and having their vacation taken away from them, they'll come to us from them and,
Right.
sorry, I
Right.
don't care.
we
So my question is it
got one of
easier,
those last year, right?
to go through the union
Okay.
and add, say, communication officer boxes to the org chart, and then if we decided to remove them later? Or would it be easier to leave that part of it the way it is add 6 training people. And if we wanted to drop that down to 3 later.
Staffing is generally management, right? In the union, we don't bargain over the number. of
Okay, so
comp
none of that's
officers,
irrelevant.
but- Right, so that wouldn't
Okay.
be an issue. I mean,
And I think the way it would work best would be just to have the positions available to fill, and then the titles as promotions, and just like we have comms officer, lead, and so forth, there's promotions within the boxes that we have.
Right, I'm just thinking
But we
if,
just need the
if we do
boxes.
6 now, and let's call them training just for sake of argument, and eventually 3 of them fill these boxes, we're not gonna go back out and rehire for 6 more training if all those boxes are full. We might do 1, we might do 2.
Based on what
You
we
know,
see.
We will do
we're
what-
gonna need to reduce that 6 or leave 4 of them unfilled. And I'm just trying to figure out which
Well, he
way
knows
would
the
work better
turnover-
to
He
do
knows
that.
the turnover rate of the training program, so you should always calculate how many you need in the queue to be trained based on
To
the
keep up
turnover.
with
With
current
the 5 to 6
momentum.
month lag.
Right.
Right.
And right now, what the few months that we were fully staffed, we use the casual positions as that.
Right.
To get somebody in the casual, train them and have them, ready to go. So, and it worked at the beginning, it worked because those positions in that casual position moved up to
Right.
a full-time job.
So even if we did the extra 3 positions today, my point is, this isn't fixing it. We might need to readjust this in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, tweak it, but it's a step in the right direction anyway. And that's gonna be my recommendation to my seatmates.
I think we need to have the conversation with the union about, because honestly, I find I try to do everything to be fair. And when you have these people with a burnout rate like this, I understand with the sheriff's office why you get paid the regular amount. You've been through it. There's a 2%, burnout rate in the training. I understand that. But when you have something like this and you guys are stuck having to do the training and working harder because now you're training and doing the job at all times, there should be that position as you move from training and then you either go into the full-time position or you go into a casual position. If you're hiring 6 people at the same time, the ones that are the smartest and brightest and get through it the quickest, that are willing to learn that fast, they go into the full-time position because they're more than likely to succeed. Those that get through it last are going to fall into that casual position. Some of them aren't going to make it. And then you start the next set of them because there's going to be turnover at that regular rate. It's just the business of it. We just need to be able to get there.
If I may, just one more thing to consider is, while we're trying to sort this out, we do have a set of communications officers that are gonna be filling this, And one of the comments earlier today was, this is scary. Looking at the schedule where we are right now, and they define it as, this is scary,
The next 6 months.
the next 6 months.
Of what we know.
And my only promise to them, if you guys give us the positions that we need to try and get ahead of this, is there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Right.
So please stay, bear with us.
Please stay, we feel your pain. We're trying to
Because
fix it.
all the ones we have except for 2, and one of them agreed to be a training officer today. So they're the ones that are gonna be training. And if we continue down this path, I can't guarantee we're gonna have the staff that we have, With the amount of overtime that we have and continuing down this road is gonna be harder.
So
They're a dedicated bunch of people. and
do
they're
you
gonna
have
stick
enough
with it.
people that can train this many people at one time?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't have come to you with this solution if I didn't know that we could do it.
Mr. Sauter, your opinions?
I'm in favor of adding the 3 boxes. What we call them or don't call them and all, I will let you work that out. I think if we don't, we are going to be in a crisis that we're not even in. And I think we do have to we have to give people some hope of a solution. These are super dedicated people, as you said, but they are not, they're still humans. And eventually people burn out and they leave and they go do other things, and you can't really blame them. And so I just add the boxes, we'll figure out how to pay for it if in fact it actually materializes. And in this mythical world, when you are overstaffed and we have 0 overtime and you're still need a little, there's not enough money.
We might put them to work.
You're not
in
going
the
to come
jail.
back and talk to me because I won't be here anymore, because I don't think anybody will be here anymore, because I don't think it'll ever actually happen. But
Snowball somewhere comes to mind.
exactly.
And Jeff
So
does
I'm-
believe he has the money in his fund balance at this point to do it. So,
right.
Yeah. Fund 135 has fund balance to.
Although reminding everybody, just to be on the record,
Here.
fund balance is not,
Real money.
well, it's
It's like
real
monopoly
money. It's
money.
not appropriated for expenditure. We
No, we don't
leave.
have-
I know, but you're not asking for more dollars, but and this message is not to you, it's to the universe that
if Jen's getting up right
it
now.
is right now. Jen is standing on her desk right now. That fund,
We'll have to
the
come-
budget is the appropriated expenditures, and the difference between stays in the fund, and that is,
Goes
but
away, they come
That's
back
what I
here.
said. This might change later. Let's see
no,
how
but
it plays
I think that is relevant now as far as that the cash is sitting there, but it is an additional expenditure potentially.
Correct. And so.
And I'm
even
willing
based
to support that investment is what I'm saying.
based on the overtime that we know we're already going to incur between now and at least September, it will necessitate a supplemental budget request. There's no way.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I-
People over air conditioners.
Sorry. You said you had one more thing.
No.
You keep whispering in my
You're
ear.
winning. You should probably be quiet right
I'm-
now.
That's what-
Full disclosure, I'm not going to win on
You
false
got 2 out of
pretenses.
3 and 1 hasn't spoken yet. So
Advertise for 6.
I think the direction is work with HR, get this thing figured out. We know we're gonna have to do this. We know we need to get them going. We know we need to get them trained. That is the fact of life. The fact that every business out there is currently trying to hire, and if I could go work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, you will always probably get a high turnover rate. When the market turns around and people are looking for work and willing to work really hard, then we might not have to have those training slots full as often as that. But this is the real reality right now. And I would also like to say thank you for all of the overtime you were putting in. You were working your tail off and filling in, and
Mine's
we
free
see
right
that.
now.
And I hope you realize now what it is like to be a salaried employee and how much fun it can be. But thank you.
Never
You-
do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, thank you though.
Are we clear?
and I appreciate how much both of you are fighting, for the positions, but I kind of see looking at you that it's more of fighting for the health and well-being of the employees you have. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep. As well as the safety of my family, friends, and neighbors.
Right.
Public we serve.
All right.
don't want to be on hold for 45 minutes.
No, sir.
When the tree branch falls on you.
Oh, we'll hear about it real quick.
And I don't want you to be. Yes. Thank
Oh,
you.
you're that commissioner. I'm not answering the phone for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Let it die.
All right, now we're not gonna see you back for like a couple months now, right?
I'll be back for my regular update in
Okay.
2 weeks, I believe.
But you'll have a smile on at that time.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We never did talk about changing position titles or anything else involved with that, bumping people up. And we're not going to have that conversation for a while.
Until we can stabilize our basic staffing needs with comms officers. Correct.
All right, just wanted to be clear.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody want to pay some bills?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we pay the accounts payable warrants in the amount of $165,367.56 and the payroll benefit warrants in the amount of $788,641.69 for the date ending April 11th, 2022.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to pay those bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Anybody want to do pay estimate number 24?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pay estimate number 24 to Kirby Nagelhout Construction Company in the amount of $67,872.92, which excludes retainage in the amount of $3,393.65 and includes sales tax in the amount of $5,090.47 for the total pay estimate of $69,569.75 for the County Services Building Project Contract Number C03120.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to pay estimate number 24 to Kirby Nagelhout Construction Company. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Consent agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda with 2 items.
I would second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve the shortest consent agenda ever.
Yeah.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
What did you guys do last week?
27.
Gave it all. All right. Anybody want to make a motion on the resolution?
Sure. Okay, he's going, I won't.
Mr. Chairman, we have before us a resolution in the matter of scheduling a public meeting to review the 2021 Klickitat County redistricting plan for the purpose of giving adequate consideration to RCW 29A.76.010(4). My motion is to, and this would, to set that public meeting for the 19th day of April at 1:30 PM in the Commissioner Meetings Room. My motion is to approve the resolution.
I would second the motion.
There is a motion and a second to approve the resolution scheduling a public meeting on the 19th of April, 2022. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay,
And perhaps, Mr. Chairman, I should have noted for the record that that was as directed by the Superior Court.
thank you. That will be added to the record. Board pending, do you guys mind if we take a short 3-minute recess?
Go for it.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm.
Board prerogative, 3-minute recess.
We'll just go on without you. Go ahead.
Comfort
Is
break.
that what we call that now?
I forgot about that. I don't know why today, I was thinking it was today, but, oh, okay.
You don't look like you've been around here for a while. You've been on vacation in a warm, sunny place. I know you were. You came home to some.
Have him tell you about.
This is just to remind me when I'm having a bad day.
All inclusive bracelet.
My hand bracelet. Yeah, my hand.
Yeah.
Smoke it. Smoke it.
It's like the rosary beads.
Yeah. Actually, I can take it off, but I don't think I can by myself.
Staying back there for
I'm
a
staying
minute.
back here. Can't think of it.
A few months ago.
Oh, vacation
Yeah, I will.
will get it.
Life was easy when I was there.
Just trying it out for the
Yeah.
future?
Brendan and I are gonna carpool.
Yeah.
Public comment or anything.
Oh, yeah. public comment, baby.
So we're here at 1.
That's right, we will. Buckle up, baby.
All right, we are back. Board pending. What do you have? Anybody?
Go ahead and continue. I'll decide if I want to do it today or bring it up later.
I don't think I have anything extra than what we did this morning. Other, maybe to, if we can firm up, what am I to communicate to Jessica on the McKed seats? Do we, you know,
Yeah, I leave it up to you. I mean, like I said, I like spreading it out, but I don't want to, make some stipulation to spread it out that actually makes it worse.
I hate putting us in boxes. I mean, don't we have our regular, I mean, this is a committee that we have people serving on in certain positions. Do we make those decisions or do they make those decisions?
no, I think McKed appoints them.
So
Yeah.
McKed does.
I think
that?
we provide the names. Yes, ma'am.
Is not Jan Brendan's current position. She represents the cities. The cities would have to buy in on this.
Right. As far as the repurposing the current one, they would. The cities would have to be okay with it because they're, so there is an opportunity there. Maybe there's somebody, we could put it
All
out there
they're
and
really
maybe the
looking for is-
Goldendale, maybe they have a person that wants to serve as the city. Either way, we're gonna have to replace the tech sector person because the current one, whether they
But
get repurposed, they're not in the tech sector anymore.
I think doesn't McHead do the tech sector person?
I believe so. Well, the board appoints all of them as far as I believe. They ratify or, the advise and consent or however.
Yeah, no, that
As far
works
as the
for me.
McKed board.
We reach out to the city over here and they have somebody that's, I mean, the only one I can honestly think of is Mylan, but,
Yeah.
and if that works for everybody, I'm fine. If it doesn't work for everybody, I'm
Okay.
fine too.
Okay. I'll communicate that to her.
It really is their decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up to the cities whether they
Well,
want.
and
or-
as well as up to McKed.
McKed on the
actual
tech.
appointments.
Um,
Usually that is generated by your clerk to the cities to get it going.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because the cities have to, they choose who and then they're ratified by the McKed board. And the cities have, I mean, Jan's been on there for a long time as the city. When she was in Bingen, she was,
Mhm.
so she's been with McKed. I think she's like one of the founding members
Of
of McKed.
The, statement, policy guidance, whatever we were talking about this morning, could we throw that on the agenda for the workshop then too? Maybe hammer some of that out, or at least get the ball rolling?
Yeah, absolutely. Just keep adding to the workshop. If we're driving up here, we're sticking around for a while.
Yeah.
Till we got nothing left.
Make
I,
sure any department head or elected that has involvement with those issues is also invited.
yes. That's good advice. Okay, my update, I went to a CPAC, Coalition for Preventing Abuse in Klickitat County meeting yesterday. It was my first one I attended. It was informative. Have you been to one?
Mhm.
Okay. So then you guys are all well aware of how it works. I just had never been invited before.
It's, yeah, no, they're kind of enlightening.
And then the only other update is the bridge is taking away all my life force.
All
Yeah,
your
you did a
life
good
or
one.
all
Good-
your life
good.
force?
Yes. Yep. So those are my big updates right now.
Okay.
All right. Would you wanna go for it?
No, I was just gonna kind of talk about the comp plan, but I think that's gonna revolve around more discussions on the salary survey and what we're offering for pay and all that kind of things to finally, I guess I would say I'm worried that by the time this comp plan finally gets moved on, I won't be sitting in this chair anymore. And then it will be back to, I don't want to do the comp plan, and we'll be sitting on a 30-year-old comp plan. So I'd like to get it moving eventually. I mean, we kind of, we had a moratorium a year ago. And I'm fully aware that my biggest problem in that is the comp plan allows for such things. And here we are a year later, and we're no farther along than we were a year ago. And so I would like to discuss ways that we could potentially start. But we'll do that at the workshop, because that might have to do with salary or what we're willing to pay, or if we're gonna hire an outside consultant, or if we're gonna shift personnel, or that can all be talked about at the workshop.
Okay. Sounds good.
I don't want to keep you guys too long, and we have our next victim waiting in the back, so.
We're almost on schedule. I love being on schedule. Next up, Prosecutor Cannell. Do you have anything for open session?
Not really. I was just wanting to talk about the pending and threat litigation.
Okay. How long?
15 minutes.
Oh, we will start at 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of your local Klickitat County business. We are going to be entering into executive session, and when we come out, we have no expectation of doing any county business. Correct?
And no social business either.
And no social business. All right, so we are going to enter into executive session in accordance with RCW 4230-110, 1I, for pending litigation for 15 minutes to start with.